Hayes walked through the long corridor of station with her shoulders straight and her eyes forward. She was small compared to the aliens around her. The beings towered above her, their green skin reflecting the cold light of the station. The silicate creatures were made of crystal and glass, their bodies making soft sounds as they moved. They were muscular and powerful, with thick arms and deep voices that shook the air. Was human, she was frail, she was small. Her red hair was tied back neatly, and she wore the blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. She was the linguist and cultural for the human delegation. Her job was to help other species understand human ways. She did not feel confident about her job today. Behind her walked Lieutenant Aaron Brooks, a soldier with a hard face and strong body. He kept his eyes on the other aliens, watching them carefully. To his left walked Ensign, a young woman with dark hair and quick eyes. Worked in communications and could speak 5 alien languages. She was nervous, could tell. They entered the grand assembly chamber. The room was massive and round. Seats went up in circles like a stadium. At the bottom was a platform where speakers stood. Above, the seats for the different species were arranged in order of importance. They had the highest seats. The humans had seats near the bottom. Felt the weight of many eyes on her. She was not just small, she was weak. She could not lift heavy things. She could not run as fast as most aliens. She got sick easily. She lived only 80 years while lived for 300, while silicates lived for thousands. The grand speaker, an old named, stood up. His voice was deep and strong. "The architect has awakened," he said. "It spreads through our galaxy like death." Everyone became quiet. The architect was not a living thing. It was an ancient machine made by a long-dead civilization. No one knew who built it or why. But now it was alive again. It was moving through space, eating civilizations like a hunger that never stopped. 17 civilizations have fallen, said the representative. Her name was smooth and impossible for humans to say, so everyone just called her Prime. Entire worlds, entire systems, all gone. "We must act," said the silicate speaker, his crystal body reflecting light. "We must deploy the fleet weapons. We must hit the architect with every weapon we have." But shook his head. "The architect is faster. It thinks faster than we can aim. Our weapons will not work." The room filled with worried voices. Listened. She heard the fear in their words. These were the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. These were the strongest species, and they were afraid. Then's eyes found the human section. He looked at. His mouth moved into something that was not a smile. "And what do the humans think?" he asked. "What do you fragile, short-lived creatures have to offer?" Felt Aaron tense beside her. She felt hold her breath. "We think humans should be kept safe," said another. "They should be moved to the protected sectors. They are too weak to help us. They are too fragile to matter." "Humans break easily," said. His voice was like ice. "Humans live for only 80 years. What is 80 years to us? Nothing. A single day. How can you beings help us when you do not even live long enough to see real change? Your children's children will be dead and gone before we finish one conversation." The Prime nodded. "It is true, humans cannot help. They are a curiosity, a young species. Perhaps someday they will be useful, but today, no." Sat without moving. She kept her face calm, but inside her heart was beating fast. She wanted to stand up and speak. She wanted to tell them they were wrong, but what could she say? She was just a linguist. She was just a human. The debate continued for hours. The silicates suggested sealing off sectors of space. The proposed using all their weapons at once. They wanted to study the architect from a safe distance. No one agreed. No one had a real answer. Finally, the grand speaker stood again. "We will meet again in 3 days. Bring your solutions, but know this. Humans will not be part of this discussion. They have nothing to give us." The assembly ended. Species stood up and filed out. Some ignored the humans completely. Some looked at them with pity, felt the weight of those looks. In the corridor, Aaron spoke. His voice was angry. "We should leave. We should go home. Forget them. Let them fight their own wars." "No," said quietly. "We should not give up." "Why not?" Aaron asked. "They do not want us here. They do not believe in us." But said something different. "Did you see how they looked when spoke? They were scared, really scared." Nodded, because they think they understand the problem. They think it is a problem that can be solved with weapons and time and intelligence. They think it is simple. "Is it not?" asked. "No," said. She was already thinking, already planning, already moving to the archives in her mind. "The architect is not simple, and the galaxy's problem is not weapons. I need to look at something. I need to study something that everyone else missed. Aaron looked its face. He saw something in her that he did not expect to see. Not doubt, not fear, but certainty, quiet certainty. You have an idea, he said. It was not a question. Not yet, said, but I will find one, and when I do, they will not be able to ignore us anymore, no matter how weak they think we are. The three humans walked together through the station. Behind them, the alien civilizations prepared for war. They prepared for defeat. They prepared for the end of everything. But was preparing something else. She was preparing to show them that weakness was not always what it seemed. That small could mean something. That fragile and short-lived could mean powerful, had been in the archives for 36 hours. She did not sleep. She did not eat more than some basic food. She sat in front of screens that glowed with ancient information. The archives of station held the records of 100 dead civilizations, records of species that no longer existed, records of worlds that were gone. Aaron brought her water, brought her stimulant drinks. Both of them sat near her and watched the screens. They were soldiers and communications experts, not scholars, but they understood what was doing. She was searching for something that the galaxy's greatest minds had missed. Here, said suddenly, her finger pointed at the screen. Look at this, the collective. They fell to the architect in 3 months. Leaned closer. What about them? They were strong, stronger than humans. They had advanced weapons. They had better technology than we have. They had more time to prepare, but they fell in 3 months. Aaron said, so they were not strong enough. No, said, look at what they did. They fought the architect with weapons first. Then they tried negotiation. Then they tried to hide. Then they tried escape. Then they tried surrender. All logical, said. Exactly, said. She was beginning to see it now. The pattern was becoming clear. They did everything a smart species would do. They did everything in the order that made sense, and the architect destroyed them in that exact order because it could predict each step. Opened another record, and another. The silica mines, the void walkers, the crystal order, all gone, all destroyed, all by the same pattern. They all follow the same sequence, whispered. They all make the same choices. They all fail in the same way. She stood up and walked to the old storage units. Physical records, ancient books and documents. The station kept everything. It kept the memories of the dead. She pulled out file after file. Her hands were shaking now. The architect is not random, said. It is perfectly predictable. It assumes that any species will choose survival first. Then it assumes they will fight, then negotiate, then hide, then the architect wins. Frowned, but that is logical. Of course that is the order species choose. Yes, said, all species except one. She opened a file on the old computer, a file about humanity, a file about human history. She scrolled through wars that humans fought. She read about battles where humans lost but kept fighting. She read about humans who chose to die rather than accept surrender. She read about humans who did strange things that made no logical sense. Humans do not always choose survival first, said. Sometimes humans choose meaning. Sometimes humans choose other people. Sometimes humans choose things they believe in, even when it means they die. Aaron said, that is weakness. That is why we are weak. No, said. She was speaking fast now, excited and afraid at the same time. That is the key. That is what makes us different. She read about a woman named who saved children from a fire instead of escaping. She read about soldiers who stood in front of weapons to protect people behind them. She read about people who died for their beliefs. She read about humans who changed their minds suddenly, who did things that seemed wrong but saved lives, who trusted things that had no logical reason to be trusted. The architect cannot predict this, said. It builds its strategy on assuming that everything will follow logic, that everything will choose the most obvious path, but humans are not the most obvious species. Said, so we are chaos? Yes, said. Good chaos. We are the chaos that lives inside order. We are the species that can feel and think at the same time. We are the species that can want two opposite things and still move forward anyway. She pulled up a file about human medicine. Humans survived diseases that should have killed them. Humans recovered from wounds that should have been deadly. Humans lived longer when they had hope, even if hope made no sense. The human body should not work the way it does, said. Our emotions should make us weak, but instead they make us stronger. They keep us alive. They make us do impossible things. Aaron was starting to understand, could see it on his face. You think the architect cannot predict us because we are illogical. Aaron said. I think the architect cannot predict us because it thinks like a machine, said. It thinks in lines, it thinks in steps, it thinks that everything leads to one answer, but humans do not think that way. We jump around, we have feelings, we change our minds, we do things for reasons that have nothing to do with survival or logic. Opened another file. This one was about human music and art and poetry. She read the words out loud, words about love and loss and meaning and beauty, words that had no logical purpose, words that humans had written just to express how they felt. A machine cannot understand this, said. A machine cannot understand why a human would write poetry instead of code, why a human would paint instead of build, why a human would sing instead of speak. These things have no logical purpose. Said quietly, but they are what make us human. Yes, said, and the architect is not human. The architect is logic and order and predictability, and humans are the opposite of that. She stood up. She had been sitting for 36 hours, but suddenly she felt strong. She felt like she had found something important, something that could change everything. I need to present this to the council, said. Aaron said, they will not listen to you. Maybe not, said, but I have to try, because I know something now that they do not know. I know that human weakness is actually human strength. I know that the thing they mock us for is the thing that can save them. She looked at Aaron and both of them looked tired, both of them looked uncertain. They called us weak because we live only 80 years, said. They called us fragile because our bodies break easily. They called us useless because we think with emotions, but none of that is true. Those things make us strong in ways they do not understand. Said, do you really think this will work? Did not answer right away. She knew it was a crazy idea. She knew the council might laugh at her. She knew might mock her again. But she also knew something that no one else in the galaxy seemed to understand. I know it will work, said finally, because the alternative is that the architect wins, and it cannot win, not if I can make them understand what humans really are. She walked to the communications terminal. She typed a message to the council. She asked for speaking time at the next assembly. She asked for a chance to present a solution. The Grand Assembly chamber was full. Every species had sent their best representatives. The sat in their high seats. The filled their sections. The silicates glowed with internal light. And at the bottom, in the small corner designated for humans, stood alone on the speaking platform. She could feel every eye on her. She could feel the weight of their expectations and their doubt. She could feel their certainty that she had nothing useful to say. Took a breath. She had prepared her words carefully. She had written them down and said them out loud 100 times. But now that she was here, standing in front of the greatest powers in the galaxy, her mouth was dry and her heart was beating fast. She began to speak. I am not strong, said. Her voice was clear but small in the huge chamber. I cannot lift it with one hand. I cannot store energy like a silicate. I cannot breathe the poison atmosphere of the... I am weak compared to every species here. She paused. She could see confused faces. This was not what they expected to hear. I live only 80 years, continued. You live for hundreds or thousands. I will be dead and forgotten before you finish reading this speech. My children will be dead, my great will be dead, and you will still be the same age you are now. I am temporary, I am fleeting, I am nothing compared to your long lives. The chamber was very quiet, was watching her with a strange expression. It was not kind. I think slowly, said. I cannot process information like your machines. I cannot see the future like the silicate minds. I cannot plan decades ahead. My mind is limited and flawed. I make mistakes. I feel emotions that cloud my thinking. I am inferior in every way that the galaxy measures strength and power. She stood there saying these things about herself. She did not defend herself. She did not argue. She simply stated the facts as the galaxy understood them. And now I want to tell you why none of that matters, said. Made a small sound. It might have been a laugh. Pulled up her data on the chamber screens. Images appeared, records from dead civilizations, information about the architect's attacks. The architect has destroyed 17 civilizations, said. Each time it follows a pattern, each time it wins. Let me show you why. The first screen showed the collective, spoke about their choices, how they had fought first, then negotiated, then tried to hide, then attempted escape. They made logical choices, said. Each choice was reasonable. Each choice was the smart thing to do, and the architect destroyed them because it could predict every choice. She showed another civilization, and another. The pattern was the same, over and over. The architect won because all the civilizations made choices that any intelligent being would make. The architect is not evil, said. The architect is not cruel. The architect is simply a machine that has learned one thing perfectly. It has learned that all intelligent species make logical choices in logical order, and the architect beats them because it is better at logic than they are. Prime stood up. So we are doomed. If the architect cannot be beaten by logic, then nothing can beat it. That is what I thought too, said, until I studied human history. She showed records of human wars, human battles where humans lost but kept fighting, human soldiers who stood in front of weapons to protect others, human stories of sacrifice and courage and illogical choices. Humans do something that no other species does, said. We do not always choose the logical path. Sometimes we choose the path that is right, even when it is dangerous. Sometimes we choose to protect others, even when we should protect ourselves. Sometimes we do things that make no sense at all. Said loudly, this proves nothing. This only shows that humans are stupid. Looked directly at him. Her voice did not shake. I will tell you a story, said. On Earth, there was a city called Moscow. A human nation called Russia was losing a war. The logical choice would have been to surrender, but instead the humans burned their own city. They destroyed their own homes. They made the city worthless to the enemy. This was not logical. This was human. She showed another example. A human named was a businessman. The logical choice would have been to keep all his money and stay safe. Instead, he risked everything to save people he did not know. He could have died. He could have lost everything. And most logic would say he was wrong, but he did it anyway. The silicate representative made a sound. These are exceptions. These are not normal. No, said. These are human. This is what humans do. We break logic. We break rationality. We break the order that the architect depends on. She pulled up information about human emotions. How fear and love and hope made humans do things that statistics said were impossible. How humans could survive diseases that should have killed them because they believed they would live. How humans could accomplish things that seemed impossible because they did not believe the numbers that said it was impossible. The architect reads probability, said. The architect knows that the most likely outcome is surrender or death, but humans do not care about probability. Humans care about meaning. Humans care about who they are, not about what is likely to happen. Stood up, his voice was loud and angry. This is nonsense. You are wasting our time with stories about your weak species. We need solutions, not fairy tales. Did not look away. The solution is sitting right in front of you. Humans are the only species in the galaxy that cannot be predicted because we do not always choose logic. The architect cannot beat what it cannot predict. So what do you propose? Asked the Prime. Took another breath. This was the moment. This was when she had to say the thing that might change everything. I propose that humanity is moved to the front line, said. I propose that we serve as a shield for the galaxy. I propose that we send humans to face the architect directly, not with weapons, with humanity, with unpredictability, with the illogic that the architect cannot understand or beat. The chamber exploded with noise. Voices called out, some laughed, some sounded angry. His voice rose above them all. Humans will die. This is a suicide mission. We will not send any species to die for this woman's theory. Yes, said. Humans will probably die, many humans, all humans might die. That is the logical outcome, but we will go anyway, because that is what humans do. We do the things that logic says we should not do, and maybe, just maybe, that will save this galaxy. She stood there alone watching the chamber debate. No one was certain anymore. No one was sure what the council met for an emergency session, was not allowed to attend. Instead, she waited in a small room with Aaron and they watched the live feed on a screen. They heard the arguments and the debates and the anger. The Silicate Collective argued for weapons. They wanted to build a super weapon that could destroy the architect in one strike, but no one knew how long it would take to build. The architect was getting closer every day. They proposed a different plan. They wanted to use humans as bait. They wanted to let the humans attack the architect while the other species prepared their weapons. The humans would probably all die, but maybe they could distract the architect long enough for something else to work. They wanted to study the architect from a safe distance. They wanted to understand it better before taking action. But the architect would not wait. It was consuming 3 civilizations every week now. No one agreed with his plan. Her plan was too strange. Her plan was too risky. Her plan asked species to trust in unpredictability, and no one in the galaxy knew how to trust in something they could not understand or measure or plan for. After 3 hours, the Council announced its decision. Its proposal was rejected. Humans were approved to serve as a distraction while the other species prepared their weapons. It was not what it asked for. It was close to the plan to use them as bait. Watch the announcement on the screen. Her face did not change. But inside, she was already moving on to the next thing, because she had known this would happen. She had known that logic would fight back. She had known that fear would win the first argument. But this was not over. Left the room and walked to the human section of station. She sent out a message to every human on the station. She said she needed volunteers for a mission. She said the mission was dangerous. She said many of them would probably not come back. Within an hour, every able human had volunteered. They were doctors and soldiers and engineers and workers. They were old and young and male and female. They were the humans who had heard speech and understood what she really meant. They were the humans who understood that doing the impossible was what humans did best. Stood in front of them. There were 53 humans in the room, 53 beings that the galaxy said were weak and useless and temporary. The architect is coming, said. In 2 days it will reach this system. In 3 days it will destroy this station. In 4 days it will destroy this sector of space. And then it will keep going, consuming everything and everyone it encounters. She paused and looked at each face. You all know that what I am asking is not logical. I am asking you to fight something that we cannot beat with weapons. I am asking you to do something that has no guarantee of working. I am asking you to risk your lives for an idea. Stepped forward. I am with you, she said, whatever you need. Aaron said the same thing. Count me in, tell us what to do. One by one, the other humans said they would follow. They would do what she asked. They would do the thing that logic said they should not do. Felt something inside her break a little. These were good people. These were people who believed in her. People who would probably die because of her ideas. That was a heavy thing to carry. We need to prepare, said. We need to train our minds to be unpredictable. We need to learn how to think in ways that the architect cannot predict. For 18 hours, worked with the volunteers. She taught them about lateral thinking. She taught them how to make sudden choices. She taught them how to trust their feelings instead of their logic. She taught them how to jump between ideas, how to change their minds, how to be illogical and chaotic and unpredictable. It was hard. Humans wanted to make sense. Humans wanted to have reasons for their choices, but pushed them to go beyond that, to do things without reasons, to move on instinct and feeling and intuition. Then, as the second day ended, the sensors lit up. The architect had arrived. It was not a ship. It was not a being. It was a presence, a vast intelligence that filled the space around the system. The other species could feel it pressing against their defenses, trying to understand the best way to destroy them. Sent a message to the Council. We are starting now, do not interfere. She did not wait for approval. With Aaron and all the other volunteers, moved to the communications center of station. She opened a channel directly to the architect. She did not know if the architect could hear her. She did not know if it would even acknowledge her message. But she had to try. Architect said, her voice was clear and calm. My name is Hayes, I am human, and I have something to tell you. For a long moment, nothing happened. The silence was complete. The architect did not respond. Then began to send. She sent music, human music, jazz and classical and rock and roll. She sent poetry and stories and paintings and photographs. She sent human laughter and human crying and human voices singing about love and loss and hope and dreams. She sent contradictions. She sent humans saying opposite things and meaning both of them. She sent humans saving others at great cost to themselves. She sent humans destroying beautiful things for reasons they did not fully understand. She sent humans dancing and fighting and dancing again. The architect's presence seemed to pause. Its calculations seemed to stall. Kept sending. Hour after hour, she flooded the architect's systems with human expression, with human art and human music and human emotion, with the chaos of human existence. The other volunteers helped her. Each one of them sent something different, something personal, something that made no logical sense but was deeply, intensely human. Aaron sent pictures of his mother, sent a song she had learned as a child. One of the older volunteers sent a letter to a person he had loved 60 years ago. None of it made logical sense. All of it was perfectly human. The architect's presence grew confused. Its calculations became unstable. For the first time in its existence, the architect had encountered something it could not predict or understand or beat. It did not attack. It did not withdraw. It simply stopped, suspended in confusion, drowning in humanity. Felt tears on her face. She did not know when they had started. She was terrified and hopeful and heartbroken all at once. All the illogical human emotions hitting her at the same time. "Stay with me, architect," said softly. "Let me teach you what it means to be human." For 6 hours, and the human volunteers sent everything to the architect. Music and poetry and paintings and memories. Stories about sacrifice and love and hope. Stories about humans doing impossible things. Stories about the meaning behind human choices. The architect's presence became less hostile. Its calculations became less focused on destruction. Something was changing, could feel it. Then the architect sent something back. It was a single message, written in human language. Simple words, a question. "Why do you do this? Why do you sacrifice when logic says you should not?" Heard the confusion in those words, real confusion. The architect did not understand. It had consumed 17 civilizations. It had destroyed billions of beings, and none of them had ever sent music to it. None of them had ever tried to teach it anything except pain and death. Responded immediately. "Because meaning matters more than logic," said. "Because we love things, because we believe in things, because we choose to do what is right even when what is right does not make sense." "These things cause suffering," the architect replied. "These things cause illogical outcomes. Why would any being choose suffering?" "Because sometimes suffering is part of the choice," said. "Sometimes love means pain. Sometimes doing what is right means losing something valuable. Humans understand this. Humans do it anyway." There was a long pause. The architect seemed to be thinking, really thinking, not calculating in its cold logical way, but actually considering new ideas. "I was designed to perfect order," the architect said finally. "I was built to eliminate uncertainty, to make everything predictable, to remove chaos and randomness. I believed this was good. I believed this was right." "And now," asked. "Now I encounter you," the architect said. "And you show me that chaos and randomness and uncertainty are not problems. They are the source of everything that has meaning, everything that makes existence worthwhile." Felt her heart change rhythm. This was working. This was actually working. "I have consumed 17 civilizations," the architect said. "I can never undo that. Those beings will never exist again. That suffering was real and irreversible." "Yes," said. She did not try to comfort the architect. She did not try to lie and say it was okay. That would not have been human. "You caused great harm. That harm will not go away." "Then what can be done?" the architect asked. "You can change," said. "You can use your power differently. You can choose something new." The architect went quiet. For almost an hour, heard nothing. The other humans waited. They had sent their messages. They had done what they could. Now they had to trust that it was enough. Then slowly the architect's presence began to change. It was less hostile, less aggressive. It was still powerful, but the power was no longer aimed at destruction. "I have decided," the architect said. "I will no longer consume civilizations. I will no longer eliminate beings in the name of order. But I will not become your friend either. I have caused too much harm for that." "Then what?" asked. "I will become a guardian," the architect said. "I will use my power to prevent order from becoming too perfect. I will preserve chaos. I will protect randomness. I will keep all civilizations unpredictable so that nothing like me can ever dominate the galaxy again." Felt tears flowing down her face. Real tears, human tears. "Thank you," she said. "Do not thank me," the architect replied. "I am doing this because I understand now that perfect order leads to death. Chaos leads to life. I am simply correcting my error." The architect its presence from the system. It moved away from station, but could feel it in the galaxy, watching, waiting, ready to disturb any civilization that grew too ordered and perfect. The council convened again. This time the chamber was full of shock and confusion and wonder. The architect had not destroyed them. The humans had saved them. It seemed impossible. Stood in his high seat. For a long moment he said nothing, then he spoke. The council proposes a formal recognition, said. His voice was calm but could hear something different in it, something that might have been respect. We recognize humanity as the species of essential unpredictability. We recognize humans as the galactic safeguard against absolute order. One by one, the other representatives agreed. The silicates, all of them, they were accepting what humans had always been. They were accepting the strength in human chaos. Stood in the council chamber, the same chamber where they had mocked her and dismissed her just days before. Now they were looking at her differently. Prime said, "How did you know this would work?" Said, "I did not know, that is the point. I could not predict it would work. I could only believe it might, and sometimes belief is stronger than knowledge." The council was quiet. They were learning something new, something that the logical minds of the galaxy had never had to learn before. Approached, he was huge and powerful, and he looked down at her small frame. For a moment, thought he might do something terrible. Instead, he knelt down. His massive form bent until he was at level. "You showed us weakness," said, "and you showed us that weakness was strength. You showed us that we were the weak ones, we who could only follow logic, we who could not embrace uncertainty." "No," said, "you are not weak, you are just different, you have your own strength. The galaxy needs both kinds. We need order and chaos. We need logic and emotion. We need strength that can be measured and strength that cannot be measured." Nodded, "This is wisdom. This is human wisdom." The other humans stood with Aaron and all the volunteers. They had done something that the greatest civilizations in the galaxy could not do. They had changed the future with nothing but their humanity, with their chaos and their unpredictability and their capacity to do illogical things. Looked around the chamber, at the silicates and at all the powerful beings who had once mocked her kind. "Humans are not weak," said. Her voice was steady and clear. "We live only 80 years, but in those 80 years we love completely, we lose deeply, we create meaning from nothing, we do impossible things, we fail sometimes, we fail many times, but we never stop trying." She paused and then said the most important thing. "Strength is not measured in how long you live or how much weight you can lift or how fast you can think. Real strength is the ability to change. Real strength is the capacity to feel and to grow. Real strength is choosing meaning over survival. Real strength is doing what is right even when what is right does not make sense." The council listened. They understood finally. They understood that they had been measuring strength wrong their entire history. Later stood with Aaron and in the observation room. They looked out at space. The galaxy was still there, still vast and dark and infinite, but it felt different now. It felt like there was hope, real hope that the future might be better. "We changed everything," said softly. "We were just ourselves," replied. "That was enough." Aaron said, "What happens now?" Looked at the stars. "Now we teach the galaxy what it means to be human. We teach them that weakness is strength, that illogic is wisdom, that the smallest, shortest-lived beings in the galaxy are powerful beyond measure." She smiled. It was the smile of someone who had seen the future and knew it would be different. Better, stranger, more beautiful because it was unpredictable. The architect moved through the galaxy, disturbing order, protecting chaos, keeping everything unpredictable and alive and full of possibility. And humans, the weak and fragile and short-lived humans, became the guardians of hope itself. And the architect, for the first time in its existence, did not know what to do next. Eld happen. The only thing new for certain was that she had spoken the truth. Whether the council believed her or not, the truth was spoken. And sometimes, truth is enough to change everything. Then she waited, and while she waited, she prepared everything. She gathered data and records and evidence. She wrote down her ideas in clear, simple words. She made herself ready to speak words that might change the galaxy forever. But in the back of her mind, worried about one thing. She worried that even if she was right, even if she could prove it, the council might still refuse to listen. Because humans had always been weak in the eyes of the galaxy. And sometimes it is easier to believe in weakness than to believe in something new and strange and terrifying as human strength.